Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined by the one, the only, Randy Swaim. He's our Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach. It's a mouthful, people, but he's also an amazing person. And he's the founder of Coaching for Relevance. He's a pilot. My goodness, how else I describe you? There's so many ways to getting his PhD or has his PhD. Let's see, in the military. There's
I
a
actually
lot.
held I actually held off on the PhD just because of my time allowed and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't able to finish that. I may go back to it and finish, but just a lot of this other stuff that's going on, which is good. It's makes it kind of crazy. So yeah, it's I'm honored to be gaining my knowledge, totally enhancing my knowledge in neuroscience and all that because that's a huge aspect of leadership, but it's also a key aspect. I'm actually going to bring a little bit of that to the show today, but there's people just don't understand it. They don't think in those terms usually when you're talking about leadership, and that's
Mhm.
but the neuroscience and understanding the brain, understanding how you may be getting in the way of your people and things like that. Um, all of that is a key aspect about this neuroscience. And I'm on a lot of their podcast shows just
Yeah.
as a group with my good friend and Justin Kennedy with the NPN Hub over in Europe, and also his wife, who's uh, uh, with Coach Pultz, who's kind of a colleague of mine and everything like that, Jordana Kennedy. And so I'm just honored to be with them and honored to bring neuroscience and that aspect to a lot of what we do.
Well, thank you. Always a pleasure having you here today. And your company helps focus and helping people become leaders and hone in on their leadership skills. And to really, you're helping so many companies worldwide. What did you have in mind for the conversation today, Randy? Where are we going to start?
Well, what I'll do is I'll kind of mention this. And by the way, a lot of people may, you know, uh, take this as something very negative to some of the stuff that I've seen, but no, don't do that. Because guess what? We're all on a journey of development and growth and all that kind of stuff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention just a couple of things relative to that came out in sort of aviation training aspects and things of that nature and everything. But a little bit of a hint of the neuroscience aspects of it, but also some things that we need to think about and just not not allow those aspects to be involved as much. So I'll just that's what I was going to bring this time. And again, it is a key aspect about leadership and developing and really raising your people
Yeah.
and also bringing neuroscience awareness to it, not to teach your people, but so that their brains really become successful in what they're trying to be doing and what they're trying to do for you and for themselves and for everything else. So that's one aspect that I was just going to sort of bring today.
As you always do. Let me first ask, how was your week? Just to catch up, what have you done all week?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a little bit busy all week with doing stuff and just
Hmm.
getting some stuff done and also kind of helping out over at the airport and everything. But really, it's been uh, getting involved with some things and all that. And I've got a couple of things that I'm looking at kind of connecting with to have a conversation with somebody because it sounds like there might be something very positive happening for me, and we'll see. I've got a friend of mine who was actually a um, um, basically a brother, kind of thing back in my college days, kind of thing for and he and I have connected over the last couple of years because he's also a pilot. He's doing a lot of that stuff and everything, but he reached out with something that I'm going to be, connecting and seeing if it's there and all. So we'll see
Yeah.
what that happens. But that's kind of a little bit about what I've been doing for the last week or so.
Always working, always hustling, never taking the time for himself. He's so selfless. All
Well,
right, so, but
I've had people, in fact, just recently, about a day or two ago, I had somebody ask me this, but I've had people ask me when, if and when I'm going to retire, and my answer is always the same thing. I say, as soon as I take my last breath, because you know what? I'm going to run through the
yeah,
tape. Yeah. So, and not just for me, but for a benefit for other people,
yeah.
kind of thing. And that's the focus and the mindset that I have for that.
Well, we appreciate it. All right, so let's get
Cool.
started for today. Now I forgot what we were talking about, but you'll have to bring it up because, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll bring it up, and don't take this as anything personally negative towards anybody that I might imply or mention this to, um, because there's a lot of people in our societies and things of that nature that have no true understanding of this true aspect of leadership and how you're doing a good thing. So what I'm going to do is mention just two sort of negative things that I have observed, because obviously being an executive coach and a neuroplastician and all of this sort of stuff, I observe other people, other leaders, other or people that think that they're leaders and all that kind of stuff. I observe that, and I'm very much aware of how it gets kind of goofy. And so I'll just share these two with you, but then I'll just kind of mention um, a couple of things that we need to be aware of and understand in the mind. And I'll mention a couple of things on the neurotransmitters that our brain releases and how that can be a negative thing for the people that you're connecting with and all that. So I'll just share that with you, and let me go ahead and just give you the first two examples of it. And one of it was in uh, uh, basically, this person is not, and I'm not going to share anything specific or anything like that. As far as who it is, because I'm not looking to necessarily
Yeah.
badmouth anybody or anything like that. But there is one person who is not like a senior leader or
Okay.
manager, but this person is a lower level sort of manager of a couple of, oh, excuse me, a couple of programs of instructors and things of that nature. But this particular person, she gradually, she actually uh, was in the Air Force at one time, in the military and everything. But what's amazing is, and this
Mm-hmm.
is something that as I observe her on this, I'm amazed at how she constantly sort of does this. And what it is she's always looking to just dictate and control and all this, but not to develop and really create the aspects in that. And so she's, being more of a manager, but not a leader. And what's amazing, and as I kind of model this just a little bit, even when she's having a conversation with somebody, not in the office, but just standing there in one of the, you know, uh, rooms and stuff in the facility and all this kind of stuff. When when they're talking and when the other person is talking, you can see that the the nonverbal communication in her body language is very negative
Can
in a lot of
tell a
ways,
lot.
because
Yep.
that's right, because she sits there like this and she kind of is going
Not good.
like this, and that is not good. And you know and what I will say is her reactions to a lot of stuff is in a lot of ways a lot of just control freaky and
Oh, wow.
dictatorial and not good, not and so this person is not being a leader. They are not employing leadership. And so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect that I'll just share on this is with one instructor that I observed when he was kind of working with the client in the simulator. And by the way, I'm not bad mouthing the company. The company that I work for, I am totally all for. and I'm not planning on going anywhere else. I enjoy them. So, and most of the people in it are pretty good. And so I'm not, don't take it as anything negative on that. But what I noticed in this person is that uh, they were working with a pilot client who was an initial client who hadn't done a lot of this kind of work before. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, they're kind of getting their brain going and their learning going and all that kind of stuff. But what this instructor did, and I observed it, was on a couple of times, they actually reached forward and just pushed the buttons on the cockpit and things like this instead of that. There's an aspect about getting off of that, of just going through some motions. There's an aspect about that where you may need to ask some questions to get the, or at least talk the student through doing that so that they have that in their mind and all that. And so it's just, and that's not really a relevant, part of where I work. That's
Yeah.
not something that is across the board. Um, and like I said, I'm happy to work there. I've been there for 26 years now, and I plan to stay for until I take my last breath, because I appreciate what they bring and how they bring it and all of that for most of us. So, but these are just a couple of things that people kind of
Yeah.
didn't think about. And the bottom line is, keep in mind, and this is what I wanted to just share very briefly, that when you have a situation where you are interacting with your people in negative ways like that, what you're basically doing is and I'm not saying you're intending to do this, but what you're actually doing is you're trying to shut their brains off so they just go through what you told them to do and stuff
Yeah.
and all that. And you know what? That is not what you want, and that's not how you're developing
Nope.
people. And if you think about this, the other part of that is, if you understand the neurotransmitters, the chemicals that our brain releases based on its experiences and everything, and a couple of them that I'll just throw out there, one is the concept of oxytocin. And you remember, that's the thing that is released when people are thinking that they're thriving socially in this, they're growing and all this. And guess what? When you do what these two people were doing, you're shutting off the oxytocin, and you're not, you know, really developing that aspect of it. And the other part of it too is on this, the other one is just the norepinephrine. And of course, the norepinephrine, if you interact with people in such a way that that they perceive that you're shutting them down or something like that, kind of thing, guess what? That can release norepinephrine, and norepinephrine is the chemical that causes us to say, okay, I'm out of here, forget this junk
Yeah.
or whatever, or stand up and we prepare to fight against them, kind of thing. And so it's just, understanding the brain and how it works, and understanding the uh, uh, neurotransmitters and what the brain does on that. What a lot of people in various societies do not fully understand is that there's a lot of ways where you got to be aware of um, the neurotransmitters and what you're causing the brain in your people to
Mm-hmm.
do. And one thing, the dopamine fix, you remember, is the one where you kind of, feeling rewarded, where you're saying, hey, I did all that, yeah, good, kind of thing. Guess what? The the pure dopamine fix may be what's driving your brain to cause you to do that. And that's you got to be aware of that. And so it's just something to think about when you're talking about leading your team, particularly, and trying to develop your team. Because you know what? Being a leader does not mean you just point fingers and threaten and tell them what to do and have them shut their brains off and just go do it. And if that's the mindset that you have, you're not being a true leader. A true leader basically does things in such a way where their people grow and become, and they get to a point where they can think and they can mentally process well, and they can come up with the radical solutions that in some cases
Yeah.
you didn't even think about. There might be a time where one of your people comes up with a solution, and in your mind you're going, oh wow, good. Yeah, kind of thing. And so it's just this aspect, um, that I just wanted to kind of bring out a little bit today, that to be aware of this, understand
Mm-hmm.
the aspect of the neurotransmitters, and the chemicals that your brain releases, um, and what that can do to fire up the person, or to really make the person want to respond in a certain way or whatever, when those chemicals are being released by the brain.
Yep.
And you got to be aware of it, and you got to be aware, and but not only that, you got to be aware of how you are interacting in such a way that that happens for them. And you know what, you don't need a lot of that. Um, and so just this aspect of, again, the I just mentioned the two big ones there, the norepinephrine and
Yep.
the oxytocin. Now, if you interacted with them in such a
Mm-hmm.
positive way that they believe in your belief of them, but they also believe that, you know what, I can overcome this. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. You're doing it in a well way, kind of thing, in what you're trying to accomplish and stuff. But it is just something to think about, that, and I just bring it out in a simple thing with just two examples. Again, it's nothing that highlights any, um, the operation, or the company that I work for, or anything like that, kind of thing. um, it's nothing like that. I'm honored to be here. I've been here for 26 years now, and I'll be here for longer. So, you're just making a difference in people. And but when you are leading your team, if your only focus is just on, wanting to control and dictate to them,
Yeah.
you're not getting the job done. And in essence, they may be shutting, um, off certain things. And keep in mind, cortisol,
Yeah.
okay, is the neurotransmitter that the brain releases, which basically is the chronic stress hormone. And if you're creating that, and you're causing that to be released in your people, you're not leading correctly. And so it's your people can grow and become, and reach radical results and things of that nature, but how you get there is key. And just, there's a lot of ways where you may be interacting in such a way that it's not really making it work effectively. And so, having this basic understanding of neuroscience, and neurotransmitters, and what the brain does and how it does it, I challenge all the people that are listening to simply do one thing, and that is listen to certain aspects of what you have done, say in the past or whatever. Be aware of that. Think about it. Were you releasing the right, neurotransmitters, or were you releasing chemicals that were not really what you needed? And a lot of people, I will tell you this, that a lot of people in societies today have a sense that, if I just tell you what to do, that's all you know. That's not it. Your people are not growing and becoming and developing and really reaching radical results if all they're doing is shutting their brain off and doing what you tell them to do. And interacting with them in such a way where they feel honored, and they feel honored by what you're doing, and they interact in such a way, and their
Yeah.
brains get involved in such a way that magical things can happen. That is huge. And that's where radical success for your team, for your organization, for your company can happen. And so that's just what I thought I'd bring out, because those are just a couple of things that I saw, and stuff. Again, it's not something that's sort of normal with the a whole company or anything like that, but just a couple of things that I noticed and observed from my, mental awareness and what I saw and observed, and so just get some, just some things that people have to be aware of when you're interacting with your people. To what extent are you causing the negative neurotransmitters to be released, and at what point is that going to make it negative for you? And so when you're leading teams, developing all of that in a positive way is what is so critical. So I just leave that with them, and just something to think about with the neuroscience sort of application, but also just like I say, just a couple little insights that I observed and was aware of and stuff, and so I just shared that. But again, it's not just about what you did at the time; it's
Yeah.
about the neuroscience, the neurotransmitters that you are releasing in their brain and mind, and the chemicals that their body is feeling because of that. And so it's just something to think about on that when you're having to kind of interact with people. And you know what? One of the challenges on it is when there's a challenging situation or an unpredictable situation that's coming up, how you interact with your people should be in such a way where they can still generate the positive neurotransmitters in their mind and really reach radical results with it. And so it's just something to think about. But the neuroscience, the neurotransmitters, and aspects of that is something that is very key to this whole thing. So that's just what I was going to bring today.
You always bring a lot. Oh my goodness. And to close us up, wow. All right. Always some words of wisdom. How did you want to leave off? We still got 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We can talk a little bit about it, or if you have a question or whatever. But again, this aspect of neuroscience and the neurotransmitters is so key when you're dealing with people at any level. And you know what? Even if you're dealing with your children and trying to develop them, that can sort of come into play sometimes. And so it's just a key aspect that a lot of people don't often think about. But but that's it. You just particularly when it's an unpredictable situation, or when it's a situation that is a little bit challenging. Um, as if you want to be a true leader, you have to do something a little bit different than most people realize. And you know what? To what extent is somebody going to do that? And
Yeah.
so that's just a key aspect of this whole aspect of the success for people that are leading a team, perhaps. Or if you're teaching somebody and you're looking to develop them and help them become, sometimes just asking them questions, and in some cases maybe pointing something out, but instead of you going up and doing a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
having them go do it because you told them to. Just a lot of stuff like that is just how you're interacting, how you're doing it, and how you're developing it is key. And you know what? If you're doing it right, you can be acting as a true leader, and that's just a key aspect about it.
Well, thank you so much, Randy. Now, if we wanted to reach out to you, contact you, I know you're so modest about things, but how would we reach you if we decided to?
Okay, there are a couple of different ways. You can go to my website and coachingforrelevance.com.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, on the home page of my website, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, it has my email on there. And over on the other side, it actually has my cell phone number. And so if somebody wants to contact me and just wants to have a chat, I'll welcome it. I won't be selling you on anything unless you have a need. If you have a need, yeah, we'll come up with something.
Yeah.
But if somebody just wants to have a chat, we can do that. So that's that. But if they go to my website again, coachingforrelevance.com, that's kind of the bottom of that web page is kind of where it's easy to see both of those.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic day. We will chat again next week, I hope. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. Any good plans coming up? Anything to look forward to for the week for you, Randy?
Well, I'm actually having a couple of conversations because it sounds like there's and I've got to double check this. I won't say much about it, but it
Oh,
looks like there may be a retirement benefit that's for me that may be coming on the scene that I not to retire from what I'm doing, but just as a benefit to it. So I'm checking on that. A friend of mine, uh, it sounds like got that, and he contacted me and so I'm just going to see what it is. Who knows? I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I'm still going to be working with people. I'm still going to be working with pilots. I'm still going to be working here
awesome.
and all of that. So definitely just good for that. So I'm just like I said, uh, I've had people ask me when I'm going to retire, and I go when I take my last breath because I'm going to run through the tape, and not to bring attention to myself, but just to make a benefit for other people.
God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day, Randy. We'll chat again next week. Enjoy. Bye bye for
Bye
now.
bye. And you have a great one. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.